In November 1982, gunfire pierced the silence of the night in Glen Cairn, a district in the Republic of Ireland, where Lenny Murphy, one of the country's most infamous gang leaders, was staying at his girlfriend's house. The gunfire emanated from an IRA member test-firing his Sterling submachine gun. Shortly after, he and his accomplice made their way to a black van, which had been specially customized with peepholes. Lenny Murphy always parked his yellow Rover at the back of the premises. As he pulled up, the black van maneuvered to position, its rear doors opposite Murphy's vehicle. Suddenly the doors swung open, and the two IRA men emerged and shot Murphy point blank. He sustained fatal injuries, with 7 bullets striking his head and others penetrating his heart, right lung, and other vital organs. Lenny Murphy, at the helm of the notorious Shankill Butchers gang, orchestrated a brutal murder campaign against Catholics during the mid- and late 1970s. Their barbaric acts led to the mutilation and deaths of approximately 24 individuals. Even during Murphy's 12-year incarceration for firearms offences, his gang continued their reign of terror. As Murphy was released, the Butchers gang was eventually rounded up and imprisoned. However, Murphy swiftly resumed his involvement in the murder trade. In retaliation, the IRA leadership selected 25-year-old Gerard Hucker Moyna to eliminate him. UDA boss Jimmy Craig then offered to arrange overnight lodging for Hucker and his accomplice. The offer was made in a bid to secure his own safety from potential assassination attempts by the provisional IRA. At that point, Craig was aware that Murphy had a girlfriend who lived in Glen Cairn, a staunchly loyalist area. He supplied Hucker with a Sterling submachine gun, while his accomplice was equipped with a 9mm pistol. According to sources close to Hucker, he allowed Murphy just enough time to comprehend his impending death before pulling the trigger, striking his target 22 times. A decade after initiating his spree of serial killings, Lenny Murphy met his demise at the age of 30. In Catholic neighbourhoods of Belfast, there were no tears shed, and even some loyalists privately felt a sense of relief. However, the most satisfied grin was found on the face of UDA leader Craig. He understood that he had secured lifetime immunity from potential IRA retaliation through this turn of events. After the shooting, the black van headed towards Harmony Bridge, which spans the Forth River, and was set ablaze. Hucker and his accomplice then made their way on foot to a safe house located on the outskirts of Laganil. At the same time, Craig found himself held captive in a house within the Catholic Clonard district, but was released shortly after. However, 6 years later, the UDA executed Craig as he played pool in an East Belfast bar. The Loyalist terror group accused him of treason and involvement in the murder of other Loyalists, including John McMichael and Lenny Murphy. Just recently, in May 2024, 67-year-old Republican gunman Gerard Hucker Moyna was found dead in his Belfast home. Just like Murphy, Hucker had a very dark track record. According to reliable sources, he was allegedly accountable for as many as 24 murders during the Troubles. Despite spending 2 lengthy prison sentences on both sides of the border, he never faced charges or convictions for any of the killings. However, as the conflict progressed, a widely known but unspoken truth surfaced within Republican and Loyalist paramilitary circles in West Belfast. Everyone knew Hucker had gunned down Lenny Murphy. Hucker Moyna was born in 1957 in the Clonard district of West Belfast. His parents, Frank and May, relocated to the area from his father's hometown in Mayo. They were both devoted Catholics, with May being of Hungarian descent. Photos of Hucker as a child showcase hints of his Eastern European heritage. Young Hucker cherished the tight-knit community of Clonard. However, at the age of 12 in 1969, he experienced firsthand the eruption of the Troubles when he witnessed orange mobs, escorted by RUC officers, setting fire to his friends' and neighbours' homes. This traumatic event left a profound impact on him. Shortly afterward, the arrival of the British Army further shaped Hucker's perspective. He became wholeheartedly dedicated to the cause of violent Irish republicanism. Even as a schoolboy, he demonstrated his commitment by hurling a grenade into the back of an army jeep. Upon reaching the appropriate age, he enlisted with the Provisional IRA. However, this was just the beginning of his journey. In time, he had evolved into a ruthless assassin. The year after Murphy was shot, Hucker was involved in the killing of solicitor and unionist politician Edgar Graham, who was murdered by the IRA outside Queen's University. A couple of years later, Hucker made his first trip to Croke Park to watch his beloved Antrim play in the All-Ireland hurling final. At a checkpoint on the way back, the British Army captain demanded to know Hucker's occupation. "I'm a professional assassin," he replied. Then, in 1991, Hucker and some accomplices were involved in the murder of Henry Ward. He was attacked in the Diamond Jubilee Bar on the Shankill Road. A number of other people were injured in the attack too. Following the shooting, the gunman escaped in a stolen housing executive van, which was discovered burned out in West Belfast. After a lengthy stint behind bars for firearms offences, Hucker found himself ousted from the ranks of the IRA. Subsequently, he aligned himself with the IPLO, the Irish People's Liberation Organisation, a splinter group that broke away from the INLA. The IPLO were known for threatening members of the IRA. They were also linked to drug dealing, extortion, and even involvement in a gang rape in Belfast. By that point, Hucker seemed to be out of control. He didn't like taking orders, and he carried out a number of operations without sanction. Not long after joining the IPLO, the organisation began a bloody feud, and Hucker played a central role. On one occasion, he accompanied Patrick Sullivan, a later murdered boss of the IPLO, and a former French Foreign Legionnaire, on a botched mission to purchase weapons in Paris. However, despite handing over £20,000 in cash to a French gangster, they received nothing more than a van full of children's toys in return. Disgusted by this humiliating turn of events, Hucker embarked on a solo drinking spree and found himself penniless and sleeping rough on the streets of Paris. To add to the embarrassment, he was eventually flown back to Belfast, courtesy of the British Embassy. Tensions within the IPLA rose due to concerns about missing money and weapons. On August 18, 1992, Jimmy Brown, a 36-year-old leader from Belfast, who served as the press spokesman for the IPLO, travelled from Dublin with hopes of resolving the disputes. Unbeknownst to Brown, a friend within the Provos had warned Hucker to be cautious, suspecting that Brown intended to take him out. Taking precautions, Hucker carried a Webley revolver tucked into his waistband at all times. After picking up an IPLO associate in Ardoyne, Brown proceeded northward in his green Ford Orion, under the impression that he was attending peace talks. Unbeknownst to him, it was a deadly setup. As Brown drove along the Falls Road, he spotted Hucker on Clonard Street. He halted the car, rolled down the window, and called out to Hucker, requesting to speak with him. Hucker, upon noticing Brown's car, walked toward it. However, as he approached, he unzipped his jacket, retrieved the Webley revolver, and fired 10 shots at Brown, striking him in the head with 5 bullets and causing instantaneous death. Brown's passenger opened the door and took to his heels, but Hucker calmly replaced the revolver, zipped up his jacket, and walked off. 2 months later, on October 31st, 1992, approximately 60 IRA members wiped out the IPLO in a purge known as the Night of the Long Knives. Following this, the surviving members of the IPLO went into hiding. However, one member remained in Crumlin Road prison at the time, and he was arguably the most lethal of them all: Hucker. He'd been arrested in the Bournemouth area of North Belfast while en route to assassinate another Republican as part of an internal feud. Shortly after the Night of the Long Knives, Hucker received a prison visit from the IPLO member who had survived the Short Strand attack in 1975, seeking advice on their next steps. By the end of the week, the IPLO disbanded and issued a statement acknowledging the supremacy of the IRA. The law of a murder and fear of Hucker meant much of that period has gone unreported until now. That was it for today's video. What are your thoughts on today's topic? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see our next videos.